name is Sophia, and I'm going to be studying abroad in Greece, the American College of Greece, in Duri, this fall 2023 semester. So I thought I would make a video before I leave, talking a little bit about what I've done in preparation for me going there. Not so much packing, that'll be a whole separate video, but more in regards to like paperwork and a bunch of the other stuff, like how why I chose Duri. Pretty much it all started back in January of 2023 here. I had went to a study abroad panel at my university, which is University of Northwestern St. Paul. A bunch of other students talked about their experiences, none of them at Greece, but they were all really intriguing, and so I thought, you know what, I kind of wanted to see if study abroad is an option. I'm going into my senior year of college, my 4th year. I thought, you know what, I might as well see if I can do it, but even if I don't have a lot of classes left to take. I talked to my study abroad coordinator, and she immediately thought of Greece. But said that she'd look into it, and then I heard back from her later that it was either Lithuania or Greece for options, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go with Greece. I pretty much from there had to decide, okay, what credits do I have left that I need to graduate, and can I find any similar classes at Duri that would cover that? So I found a bunch of those, and I had to bring all those classes international classes that I thought could cover them, to my advisor and also to the study abroad coordinator. My advisor pretty much checked off most of them except for some of them that were like major specific. I only had like one class that covered a major specific class that I needed to take left. Study abroad coordinator, she then helped tell me what I need to do to get those approved through the school. So once I had those classes figured out that I needed to cover, I had to submit a prior approval of transfer credits form to my school. So I pretty much had to make 4 forms because I had 4 classes I could take that would cover. I did one for my lab science, one for my philosophy selective, one for my math selective, and statistics for data analysis, which is my major specific one that I'm taking. Once I had all those come back as positive, all checked out, I had to then meet with the financial aid office at my school, where I was then told what the cost was for study abroad and how all of that would be wrapped up together. I found out my school has an extra $2,000 fee for doing study abroad with Duri, but it's worth it. I then also had to complete an off-campus assistance form and a consortium agreement. For me going for a fall semester study abroad, I had to have the off-campus assistance form due by March 15th. Again, I started this in January. March 15th was the deadline for Northwestern for their off-campus assistance form. And then I also had to apply to American College of Greece. So for ACG, I had to complete the application, of course. I also had to submit a transcript and a copy of my passport. Once I had those submitted and I waited, I think it was about like a week maybe, and I heard back and got accepted. After my acceptance at ACG, I had to notify global programs of my university at Northwestern about my acceptance. I had to fill out the financial aid forms and again the consortium agreement. So I filled those out. The off-campus assistance form was pretty easy. That was pretty straightforward. I just had to estimate the costs that I would end up having. We'll see if by the time I'm done with the semester, if my costs were actually even similar to that. So that's a future video. The consortium agreement is a form that I had to fill out partially myself, and the other part of it had to be sent to Duri for them to fill out. That's pretty much them just saying what classes I'm taking there, how many credits I'm taking, so that way Northwestern can then figure out how much I have to pay for tuition and such, to show that I'm doing a full load of classes. I also have to submit a copy of my passport to global programs at Northwestern. I also had to get a study abroad visa for Greece. Now, this wasn't a huge process, but it feels like it was a huge process, if that makes sense. So I live here in Minnesota, and the closest Greek embassy for me was in Chicago, Illinois. Now, that's a 6-hour drive if I decided to do that, but I decided to fly out. Now, I'm thankful that with my internship this summer, we managed to get that whole week of the 4th of July off as a company shutdown sort of thing. So I didn't have to ask for time off to go down and do the process. I did have a friend decide to come with me so that I wouldn't be alone in Chicago. So we made a weekend out of it. Just a heads up, if you are going to fly, do not have a late flight coming back on a Sunday from Chicago, because my flight got canceled and so we had to drive the 6 hours back. That was not fun. So just a heads up on that. But for the visa, you have to fill it out. You cannot apply for the visa more than 90 days from your arrival in the country. So I will be arriving in Greece on technically the 30th of August. So 90 days before that was like June 6th or something like that. I have it somewhere, but it was like early June, late May that was 90 days before. Even though I had started all of this and was ready to start filling it out in like March, I had to wait until June. The paperwork that I was told that I needed for the visa was a valid passport that will not expire 3 months after the end of my semester, a 2-inch by 2-inch color photo, an acceptance letter from ACG, a letter from a physician about being healthy, national criminal record check from the FBI, travel insurance, proof of funds with me having to show $1,600 minimum, bank and credit card statements from the last 3 months, and the last 2 years of W-2 forms. Now, I was showed all of that financial information for just me and not my parents, because I was the one mostly paying for my stuff. Also, there was visa fee in US dollars of $99. So that's fee. It's like, I think it was supposed to be like 70 some euros, but paid US. So, and then I also had to do an in-person interview at the Greek consulate in Chicago. Once I got to Chicago to do that visa interview, I handed over the application fully filled out with the 2x2 color photo printed on it, or glued on it. Glue it. Don't tape it, don't staple it or anything like that. You gotta glue it. I also handed over my passport, a copy of the acceptance letter from ACG, my criminal background check, travel insurance card, proof of funds. So I banked with SoFi, so I had a vault that I had made just for that for sure 16 that I showed. The guy that was interviewing me didn't really look at my bank and credit card statements as much. He mostly just looked to see the proof of funds. He also didn't really look at my W-2 forms, but I don't know if that was just my situation or what it was, because I had everything else. So just keep that in mind. And I was in and out in maybe half hour, if that. Feels like it might have been a little bit less. I got a little bit lost in the building. But once I had all that and I received my visa back within a week-ish, because I did the interview on a Friday and I managed to get my passport back by maybe that next Thursday or Friday. I for sure had it by the Monday a week later. Pretty fast turnaround, but don't quote me on that for everyone. That was my experience. I also had to confirm insurance with Northwestern. I had to fill out, so Northwestern has a travel portal that I had to put a bunch of my travel information in. So like when I was arriving, when leaving Greece, filling out a waiver saying that they can contact my parents if they get contacted about any medical emergency for me. Also having a copy of my passport there, you know, little things like that, so they know what's happening. I also had to register with the U.S. Department of State STEP program. That's sort of being able for me to get notifications on if there's any national emergency or anything happening in Greece. For instance, if there's wildfires happening in Thessalonica, I think. I got a bunch of emails about that this spring. So if I flew in or if I was already in Greece and I saw that, I can know to kind of avoid that area. So it's a nice thing to have. So if you're a U.S. citizen going abroad, maybe look into that STEP program just to see for notifications. Notify campus offices about my departure. So housing, public safety, I had to notify for some reason, even though they didn't really care as much. They were like, why are you telling us? I'm like, because the sheet said to. I also notified the mail center so that they could forward my mail. I notified my on-campus job at the time that I was going to be abroad, so I kind of quit. I also had to attend a pre-departure orientation at Northwestern. So that was mostly me with some other study abroad students for this fall semester, kind of getting told about some stuff about packing, cell phones, and money, and how being safe when you're abroad, you know, things like that. So, and it wasn't just for Greece, it was I had other study abroad students going to Japan, and I think that there was a Spanish-speaking country in there too, so it wasn't just me in that departure orientation, so it was interesting to hear. Also, after my acceptance at ACG, I had to do paperwork for American College of Greece. One of them was notification and consent for the processing of my personal data, housing request form, residence life rules and regulations, housing contract, I had to give them my travel insurance as well. I had to fill out 2 wellness forms. The first one was more just me filling out information, so if I had any allergies or if I had any sicknesses, like if I had diabetes or anything, which I don't, but you know, things like that, sort of just saying like, do I need any accommodation of any kind, or like, you know, things like that. The other form was one that had to be filled out by I think it's an MD or DO, if I remember correctly, but it has to be filled out by a specific type of doctor. And it's mostly them just saying that yes, I'm perfectly fine, or them communicating about any sort of issues that I might have, or that I'm healthy, you know, things like that. Usually you have to have that done for like if you're going to school when you're younger. I also had to submit a copy of my visa. I received that, and a student ID photo. My arrival information to Greece. American College of Greece does have airport pickup on the 2 days of move-in. So if you're flying in on the Thursday or Friday of move-in, they would pick you up from the airport. I am flying in early, so I don't have airport pickup, but I did tell them about my arrival information so that they would know about that, and so I'm going to be a walk-in for move-in. So there's a little bit different hours that I have to walk in for move-in, which you'll see later. I'll vlog that. I also had to sign a student honor pledge, and then I had to figure out my meal plan and my bed linen request. So meal plan and bed linen request were the 2 things where I have to pay for them. They're not being costs sent to Northwestern for me to pay through Northwestern. They are costs that I have to pay myself and then charged to me, not through Northwestern. So meal plan, I chose not the most expensive one, but like the one below it, so it's like half. There's like $1,000 or €1,000 one, and then I did the €700 one just because I wanted enough meals where I wouldn't be worried that I had to buy all my food, but I also didn't want to have a huge amount of leftover dining funds, so I did that one. And then also bed linen request. So because you're moving abroad, you don't always want to shove sheets and a comforter and a pillow and, you know, things like that in your suitcase, and towels and such to bring over. So ACG has a bed linen request that I could fill out where I could ask for a pillow, I could ask for a comforter, sheets, towels, you know, little things like that, and then I could pick it up there, or it'll be in my room or I can pick it up when I move in. Thankful for that, but thankfully there is an IKEA in Athens that I will probably end up going to just to see if there's any minor things that I realize I need later. And then there was like 2 other forms that I filled out personally that you don't need to do, but I did because I thought that I might need them. That's the International Student Identification Card, so that's just International Student ID. So it's valid for a year, I think, or like a year from when you apply and receive it. That was $25 because I got the physical card as well. I just thought I might get it just in case I can have one form of student ID on me, even if I don't have ACG or my Northwestern student ID on me, because there's a lot of student discounts in Europe, I found out. And then I also applied for the Global Entry Program here in United States. That was a $100 non-refundable fee. At the time that I applied, which was back in February, it was not yet 6 months from my flight out, so I said that I was not traveling in 6 months. I haven't heard back on if I've been accepted or not yet. They said between 4 to 6 months that I would hear. We're going on like 5 months now. We'll see. So I mostly want it for coming home because I'm coming home on Christmas pretty much. So I don't really want to deal with customs and all that stuff, but we'll see if I get that. That's mainly the paperwork and such that I had to deal with. Most of what I have right now is packing and other stuff like that. I'm gonna have to get all this stuff together for the flight. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about any of this paperwork that I talked about and any of the steps that I did, feel free to ask in the comments. I'd be happy to talk with you more about it. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. It'll probably be me packing and going towards Greece. I will see you guys then.